And I think the biggest advice that I would say is, one, it's okay for a while to kind of, I want to say, feel sorry for yourself. But I mean, you need some time to grieve and mourn and recognize that, life's not going to be the same going forward. But then after that, you need to really kind of, come up with a plan, come up with a game plan, and as much as possible, take the emotions out of it and look at it objectively.
Welcome to the Build Wealth Your Way podcast, where fearless women take charge of their financial futures. Get ready to tap into your potential, embrace your leadership, and join a community dedicated to your success. Each week, we'll dive into empowering conversations, expert insights, and actionable tips to help you build the life you've always dreamed of. Don't settle for ordinary. Let's shape extraordinary together. It's time to rewrite your financial story. Tune in now and let's start building wealth your way.
Build Wealth Your Way is sponsored by PCMA, home of Prosperous Success Hub, a 3-in-1 business coaching program for women.
Hi, Gail Ross.
Hello, DeVries Renee.
Gail, we're doing it. Build Wealth Your Way. Woo!
Absolutely. This is awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Good. We're going to get started because this has been, even though it's been a few months, I still feel like it's been a long way coming. So I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
I guess we started doing this or thinking about it when we had our Build Wealth Your Way event in June of this year.
Yes.
And had tremendous success with that. And then we started talking and like, you know what, maybe we want to do a podcast and just kind of take what we started and build on it. So here we are.
Yes, so here we are. So Build Wealth Your Way is a platform that we're going to talk quite a bit about during this season. But for today, in our inaugural episode, our idea was to talk about what does Build Wealth Your Way mean to the both of us as a way to introduce ourselves to our listeners and our audience and to kind of work through some of these ideas. Now, I'm going to warn/lovingly introduce the audience to us by saying this is going to be real and raw. We are organic. This is not scripted.
Yes.
We are two ladies who have a heart for women and who want to see women excel. We want to see women win in what we do. So I'm going to get started with a question. We're going to interview each other today so that we can help the audience get to know the both of us. So I'm going to start off with a tough one for you, Gail. Are you ready?
Oh, no, I guess.
Okay.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Gail, we're going to have people listening to us from Hawaii, from Idaho, from California, from Kentucky, from North Carolina, from the DC area. Who are you? Tell us about yourself.
Oh my gosh. Well, I am a born and bred Hoosier. Don't know if you can tell by the accent or not, but grew up in the Fort Wayne area, went to Ball State, moved to Indianapolis when I graduated, moved to a smaller town in Logansport, which is about an hour north of Indy. But I've always kept, things going on in Indianapolis, north side of town. But, I love, I guess, going back to college, wanted to be, doing something in sales, getting to meet people because I love working with people. And through the years I met my husband. We've been married over 30 years now, built a woodworking business, and then realized we sold that and thought, there's so many things that I learned financially running a business that I thought, you know what, this is something that I can help others, not only in starting a business, but also helping them with their financial, wherewithal, because it was like I was constantly thinking about money. I mean, from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed, I was thinking about money. It was like, do I have enough money? Do I need to budget money? Where am I going to get money to pay for people? Do I have the cash flow? What about savings, investing, all of those types of things? And I realized that a lot of those things that I used in my business, people are going through those same struggles in their household. And so several years ago said, you know what, I think I can help people help them with their finances. And so became a financial advisor and never thought in a million years I would be doing that. But I realized that financial advising isn't about investments. I mean, it's a part of it, but really it's about having a plan and getting your money to do what you want it to do for you so you can live the life that you want to live. Investments come later. It's just a tool. And so when I realized that it's about helping people through their struggles at home and helping them with their business and helping them build that plan for the future to live the life they envision living, I'm like, I'm in, I can do this. So that's what I do. And I love doing it. So
For
long and
you.
short of it, that's who I am and what I do. Other than I'm married, my husband, Chuck, and we have a 1.5-year-old Yorkie named Zoe, which she's just a little bundle of joy. Love being around her.
Chloe. What a great
Yeah,
name.
Zoe.
It's a great
Yeah.
name.
So tell me about you, Doris. What got you here?
Yeah, so long story, multiple decades. And quickly, I am also born and raised in Indianapolis. I left long enough to go to college in Bloomington, about an hour away from here.
Isn't that
And
God's country? Isn't that what
it
they
is
say, God's country?
beautiful. It
It
is
is
the best
beautiful.
campus on earth,
Yeah.
period. Let's debate about it if you like, but I'll win. And
Yeah.
so I came home, and I'm one of six, and my dad is one of 13. So I am
Oh
from
my.
a tribe, and we are everywhere. We totally take over the city. You're probably, if you're in Indiana or in Indianapolis, you're probably sitting next to one of my relatives right now. I have 71 first cousins. So
Oh my goodness.
I'm
That's
one of
amazing.
those families, and we are very close knit. We're the type that, drop over each other's houses. We spend holidays together, the whole nine. I also am the proud mom of Brianna, who just gave us our first grandbaby, Cameron, and he is the joy of my life. And I'm also mom to Caleb, who is a second year NFL player. So I am blessed
Woo-hoo.
beyond
That's
belief.
awesome. Yeah.
I career wise, I've taken a lot of turns, a lot of ups and downs and curves through entrepreneurship and corporate America, typically in a sales or marketing role. But we're here to talk about Build Wealth Your Way, which is a brainchild that God just dropped on me one Sunday morning when I was minding my own business,
Mhm.
thinking about what I was going to do for the day. And it was such a strong presence over putting together something for women that specifically gave them an opportunity and a platform to learn about building wealth. I had just read a book, and it was about women becoming millionaires. And I've
Mhm.
always done work that led me to women tapping into their power. But this particular idea was just so clear to me. And the thing that I could really get behind is the fact that when women own wealth and control wealth, they pour into communities, they pour into families. Society changes when women are in power and in control of wealth. And that just resonates with me. I grew up in a family that, the women were strong and
Mhm.
we ran the show, but we didn't always have the financial means. We made do. And so I come from a place where I get struggle. I don't want to live in struggle forever, and I haven't, but I know what it means to start with nothing and build something. So I hope in this podcast we get to talk about those ups and downs. And most importantly, I hope that women feel safe and secure that no matter where you are, and please believe we're going to share our ups and downs to building wealth. It is okay, and it's not too late, and you need to be in control. So that's what I'm hoping comes out of this.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah.
I
Good.
called you up and I said, listen, Gail, I need you to be on this panel. And I had several other phenomenal women leaders in the city on this panel. And you said yes. And then I came back with, hey, let's put together some content and work on this podcast. You said yes. Why in the world did you say yes?
I don't know. I
You
have,
still not
I gotta,
sure?
well, first of all, I said yes because you asked me, and you're an amazing woman. Everything you said, I'm like, she's strong. She's, determined. She loves people and she wants to give back. So I mean, like, why would anyone say no to that? So, but the last several years, I would say I've pushed the envelope in more ways than I could ever imagine. I mean, typically, when you get to your, mid 50s, you're thinking, okay, I'm thinking about retirement. And I'm like, what? I mean, it's just, it's not even thinking kind of in the realm because I'm learning so many new things. And this is a thing I've not done. And I realize that, you know what, I've been through those struggles. You've been through those struggles. And I remember coming out of a struggle thinking, Lord, if surely I didn't go through that for nothing. I mean, use that so I can help other people, other women, not have to go through that, or at least have someone to help them through it. So this was a great opportunity, I think, to kind of give back and share, things that we've experienced. And so it's so much better when you got two people doing it versus one. And I'm so thankful you asked.
That's it. I think the other thing that is positive and maybe a twist for us versus some of the others that are out there is you are the guru, obviously, with the certifications and the experience of helping people build their portfolios and manage their wealth. I have had it. I have not had it. I've been, in those spaces, but my new space, and I guess maybe more of a returning space, is from the perspective of real estate. So I'm actively working on building my wealth and legacy through real estate as a broker and an investor advisor and all of that stuff. So I love the fact that you bring the traditional means of building wealth in, the markets or what have you. And I can speak about building wealth through real estate. And so that's a combination that I don't know that most people are exposed to.
Absolutely. And, I think it's interesting because I think we all get pigeonholed into thinking what a financial advisor and managing your finances are. But it's really, I always try to take it's a holistic approach. Real estate is one of those that, one could consider as an alternative asset. And I think it's important to have a broad spectrum of things based on your risk tolerances and all those things that you need to kind of manage. But just knowing that there's places out there for a portion of your nest egg to help you earn money and, live that lifestyle that you want to live. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to learning more from you from the real estate investment side of it, because I know nothing about that other than what, HGTV has on about flipping houses. That's all I really know about it.
That's an interesting topic we'll have to talk about one day.
Exactly.
So you said yes, I said yes. We've been talking about building wealth holistically, but I want to get into a little bit of, the background in terms of your specific challenges, either yours or clients that you've dealt with that have had challenges around building wealth.
I think a big challenge that I really, especially those that are, looking to retire. And I would have to say women primarily, and I don't know if it's just women and men or if women are the only ones that are verbalizing it. But I think what I hear a lot is that they just want to know, am I going to be okay? Am I going to have enough resources to live life after I no longer have a paycheck anymore? And by nature of being a woman, there are extenuating circumstances that women do need to think about that maybe a little bit more, because when they live longer, that has a huge impact on how long their money lasts. So I think that's a big challenge that I hear quite frequently. But I think also for those that are still in the accumulation phase and starting to build their wealth, they want to know, they're confused. I mean, there's so many things out there. And it's like, how do you sort through all of those things that you need to sort through? And so being able to kind of give some clarity to that, I think is really, a challenge that most people have. And that's hopefully something that I can help provide.
Yeah, I would say that I'm here in this space because I feel like when it comes to building wealth, and the idea has been there's a one size fits all program. And I hate that so much.
Yeah.
Like literally I can go and read through a guru's book or watch someone on a podcast or listen to someone, and they're saying, the standard non-challenging advice, like just save 10%. First of all, I might need to save 20. I might need to save 25, or maybe it's 18 or 17. That's number one. The second thing that bothers me about this one size fits all world of financial advice is that you don't necessarily tell me how it's going to work for me. Right. So, like, I'm in a space
Exactly.
where, like many professionals, I generate revenue a couple different ways. I have consulting with business clients, but then real estate is my main source of income. And I heard someone the other day who's a pretty big deal in the world of wholesaling, and he said, real estate revenue is wavy. And
Yes.
that was his way of saying it's
Yeah.
unpredictable. I could have four closings or zero or 12 or two. So when you're giving me financial advice, if you're not considering that, then you can't help me. And so build wealth your way truly is about you at your intersection of here and now versus where you're going and what's going to work for you. I don't want cookie cutter advice, you know?
Absolutely. Well, and I think too, we both come at it from an entrepreneurial standpoint, and that's just a basic trait. I mean, money comes in, money doesn't come in. But the other thing that I think a lot of people don't really consider is that you are partners with the IRS, right? I mean, oh my goodness, if you're collecting, a paycheck, it's pretty much taken care of for you in terms of, your tax and what you pay and all that. But as an entrepreneur, it's just taxes can be just a detriment to all. So one of the things we always say, pay the IRS the fair share, but don't tip them. So we look at ways that you're not tipping the IRS, all legally, legal of course, but yeah, and being an entrepreneur gives you a little bit more flexibility and freedom to be able to work with your tax situation. But yeah, that's another component that a lot of people don't factor in until sometimes it's too late.
Yeah, and we've heard about celebrity stories and how that's worked out for them. But I don't want to leave out the entrepreneurs, the women that will watch this and work
Yeah.
a 9 to 5 in a traditional company, which is phenomenal. I was excited about the number of women that came to our event in June who are just that. We had RNs in the room, accountants in the room, so on and so forth. And I love the fact that in this idea of building wealth your way, you can think outside the box, even if you are a W 2 employee. And I say that because we're going to spend some time at the end of the show, stick around, and go over some of the topics we're going to cover. One of them being 401k is not necessarily your best friend. And so we'll talk about things like that. But Gail, I want to ask you this. You've been in the world of financial advising for quite a while, and I want to know, like, how you approach women who've had some ups and downs in building wealth. And specifically, we have women that listen to us that have gone through
Mhm.
divorces, me, myself, and I included. And
Mhm.
so our portfolios have gone from this to that. And you have women who've just had to pivot, if not even for divorce, because of life doing what life does. You've also had women who've amassed wealth. We are literally going through one of the biggest wealth transfers in America in this era. And
Mhm.
so you'll have women that are coming into money that they've never had before and have to make decisions about it. So, in terms of that, like, when you see women who've kind of gone from one extreme to the other in building wealth, what has your advice been like for them?
Well, I think you need to approach it from two fronts. One is, okay, so life didn't go according to plan, right? I mean, that's one front is it happened. Now what do I do? And I think the biggest advice that I would say is, one, it's okay for a while to kind of, I want to say, feel sorry for yourself, but I mean, you need some time to grieve and mourn and recognize that, life's not going to be the same going forward. But then after that, you need to really kind of, come up with a plan, come up with a game plan, and as much as possible, take the emotions out of it and look at it objectively. a lot of times this is a good time to get a coach or someone to help guide you through that. I think life coaches and business coaches and all is so important because many times we can't see things the way others see them. It's kind of like your house, it takes someone coming over and saying, you still have that? That's like from 1990 on your way. And you're like, oh, I didn't know it. So, I mean, life's kind of like that. We just get accustomed. We need someone else to kind of shake things up and look at it from a different perspective. But I think it's important to recognize that and then know that where you are right now is not where you're going to be. I mean, you come up with a plan, have that vision, but know that you may have to do some things temporarily that you may not want to do. Maybe if you've just gone through a divorce, maybe that means you have to go back to work for a while. Not your ideal situation if you're not used to that, but it's part of your plan. So all of that to say is assess, come up with a plan, and have someone kind of help you work that plan. Now, a big part of it, that's looking at it after it's happened. What you can do before that in coming up with ways to, I guess, guard yourself as much as possible against the inevitable, which is life doesn't always happen the way we want it. And I think it's all in that thing. You got to give yourself room for error. You have to have a safety margin because having that safety margin gives you choices and options. So if you're thinking, living life on an edge is fun while you're living life on the edge. But when you kind of slip, then it kind of stinks, right? Because now you're out of resources and you're trying to pull yourself together and you lose your options. So just coming up with that margin of error, maybe a good analogy would say when we first started our woodworking business, we bought into a franchise and we would have been on target if we would have cut our revenue in half and doubled our expenses. We took it at face value as to what the franchisor was telling us what things should be. And I think we've all been in situations like that where whoever is selling you or wanting you to be on their team is going to give you what others have done. And many times that's the upper end of things. Have you ever been through that where it's like, in real estate, well, this is what the top agents are making. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to be a top agent.
Yeah.
I like it accordingly.
Yeah, I like this discussion because it goes back to there's no one size fits all. But even more importantly, I like the idea of giving ourselves grace, right? So I don't think we talk enough about that. And I don't know too many people who are walking around knowing everything to do at all times for every situation, right? Because that's not how life works. So understanding that things aren't going to always go the way we want them to, that doesn't mean that we don't start off on a path and get ready to pivot and make some different decisions. But I like what you also said about how we can become complacent. And when you told the story of, somebody coming to your house, what I thought about, because this is a real situation right now. I'm standing in my dining room the other day and I'm realizing that this picture that I have on my wall is a little off. Like I didn't use a leveler.
Oh no. You just got used to it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I always want to surround myself with people who can let me know, hey, your slip is hanging. And when it comes to dealing with money, I definitely want people around and multiple people around who can give me different perspectives. And so that's, one of the joys of being with you as a co-host on this podcast is, although I've spent some time on the traditional financial side of the coin, working in the stock market and doing all that, it's not my everyday. And so I get to glean from you, and I get to, like a lot of women that are going to listen to this, I get to learn. I don't have all the answers. I'm here to investigate. I'm on the journey with them.
Yeah,
I know some things about some things, but I don't have a full enough picture to be able to write a book or, advise folks. So that's what I'm looking forward to in these discussions.
Doris, you have had your ups and downs, right? So what did you do when, life didn't go according to what you thought?
Yeah, I was thinking about a couple of things. So Christmas is coming up soon, right?
Mhm.
And I will never forget, like one of my, I'm going to call it a financial high period in my life was one where I remember walking in Nordstrom's one day. It was close to Christmas, and I was trying to decide what I wanted for gifting. And I also was looking for something for myself.
Mhm.
And I walked through Nordstrom and I'm looking at things. I picked up a blouse. The blouse was about $400. I will never forget this. And I remember thinking to myself, man, it feels good here. I can buy anything I want to buy.
Mhm.
I didn't want the blouse. I couldn't think of anything I wanted. I walked out of Nordstrom's empty handed that day, but I had that epiphany because
Yeah.
I was on that financial high. I ended up that Christmas buying everybody gifts from Coach. Coach was hot at that
Oh,
time.
yeah. Yeah.
And I went in there and just
That's
bought
good.
it all.
Yeah.
And that was a great period. We were real estate investors at the time. At one point, we had about 20 single family homes,
Oh,
all
wow.
of them cash. And it was great. However, there were some ups and downs to that, and we'll talk about that in another episode.
Yeah.
But I've also had times where, because I'm a risk taker, where I've thrown it all at the wall and decided I'm going all in to this endeavor and walked out empty-handed.
Mhm.
So it's a thing where, number one, you assess the risks as much as you possibly can and you deal with the consequences. I think the thing that helps me with my rebounds, which is what they are, is I know my skill set. I know how to produce wealth. I know
Mhm.
how to generate income. I know how to generate revenue. And so I lean into that.
Yeah. It's
And
interesting. You were talking about the risk assessment and a lot of concepts that you will hear me talk about. I love this book. It's Morgan Housel, and he wrote a book, The Psychology of Money. And so
we've
I
been
think I
talking
told you about that before,
yeah,
but I love
yeah,
it because it's just good practical information. But one of the things that he had mentioned in that book was, it's assessing, you talk about assessing your risk. And so a risk should not be more than what the downside of losing it all would be. So his example was Russian roulette. Okay, so if you think about a revolver, there's, let's say, 6 chambers in there. Well, you have, pretty much a 1/6 chance of that bullet not being in the chamber when the trigger's pulled. One would look at it like, well, that's a pretty good percentage. But what happens if it's wrong? I mean, you lose everything.
right.
So I think part of assessing risk is realizing, yeah, you could have a potential gain, but is it worth it? Is
Yeah.
if something happens and you lose everything, what is that going to do for me? And as we get older, you really need to evaluate that because there's really only two ways to build wealth. You can either throw money at it or you can throw time at it. And when we get older, we're losing that opportunity to throw more time at it. So, it's important to be able to kind of get a feel for what allows you to sleep at night. Even if you are at risk, just kind of assess whether or not that's what if you're willing to lose it all and what that's going to do for you.
Yeah. And I want to talk more about that risk taking piece too, because I don't want to give people the idea that they should just run out the door and, buy that swampland that somebody's trying to sell them in Florida,
Yeah.
right? One of the things you mentioned, a book that you like, one of the things that keeps me in a safety zone
Hmm.
is in understanding, my skill set, strengths, that type of thing. And it's because I like to operate in my zone of genius.
Oh,
And
that's,
so I think I told you about
yeah.
Leap, which is the book that concept comes from. And these risks are calculated in that I understand what my parameters are. I
Hmm.
know how far I can go or not go, and what I'm going to have to do to pick up the pieces if things don't go my way. So there's a lot of nuance to that. I think that it's a dynamic topic. I like that you brought up throwing money at it or throwing time at it, but I think that there's even some dynamics in
Yes.
there
Yeah.
that can be teased out as well. So let me do this, because you said something at the beginning when we were off camera in terms of what wealth means, and you gave 3 examples of what wealth means, and you said it's not really even about money. Do you remember that?
I think it was going to the point of it's about time, flexibility, and control of your time. Again, a concept that Morgan Housel brings up, really, wealth is being able to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want, for as long as you want. I mean, think about that. You could have $5 million in the bank, but if you can't access that and do what you want with it and be able to serve others with it or whatever you want to do, it's like it means nothing. Money's just a tool, right? And so that's one of the things that we spend so much time when we're working with our families, is helping them figure out, what do you want out of life? And it really comes back to being a service and being able to have the time, freedom, and flexibility. And that's what money can bring you, right? I mean, that's what building wealth is all about.
I love it. I love it. So we're going to wrap up a little bit, but before I do, Build Wealth Your Way is a platform for women to be able to tap into their power. So I want you to tell me the last time you felt powerful.
You know, that one, you asked me that question, like, I don't know, an hour and a half ago or something like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm still like trying to feel stumped. But I think feeling powerful to me is when, I just had a client that I was able to bring on board. And I have worked with her for over a year. And I was so excited for her when she finally realized and that she was able to feel comfortable in having someone help her do things that was putting too much stress on her. So being able to help people find freedom and comfort, I don't know if you call that power. It gives me such a sense of joy and purpose. And I guess if I get power from that, then I guess I do. But I love that aspect of it, because at the end of the day, I always try to evaluate, why am I here? What, as a Jesus girl, it's like, we're not here to serve us. We're here to serve others, right? And have a purpose in life, and being able to help others find their purpose gives me a sense of power.
I
What
love
about
that.
you? I mean, I'm going to turn the tables on you, Doris.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was thinking about the fact that I asked you a question that I wasn't prepared to answer. I think I was an attorney in my former life, because I typically don't ask a question I don't have the answer to.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so I'm going to say this. I was telling you that, at this time of year, it's the reflection time of the year where you go back and take a look at what you've done, what you're going to do in the next year, and set your intentions. And part of that process, for me as a full-time self-employed individual, is to go back and take a look at the revenue that I earned. So I do check-ins throughout the year, and I knew I was on a certain trajectory and I had certain goals to meet. So I increased my revenue 50% over where I was last year. And
Wow.
and I've always had this minimum threshold of 6 figures. I was floored. And I will say this, it's not necessarily the number. The number matters, of course. But for me, the power came in that as an entrepreneur, I'm the sole breadwinner in my household. I am a single woman. And so everything rests on my shoulders. And I had I did it moment.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to do it. I'm still working through the proving process. And so having those, I guess, affirmations or confirmations, like, oh yeah, like I'm a pretty confident, ambitious person, and I go in, and sometimes I'm so focused on the outcome, I'm not really thinking about the journey to get to the outcome. So to go and take a look and to see what I was able to produce and create for the year.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
felt great about
that,
that.
and you know what? I don't, from hearing you right, it's not really how many zeros are on the end of it, right? I mean, it's something that you had a goal, you accomplished it, and it gave you confidence and made you believe in yourself a little bit more.
Yeah.
Is that, am I hearing that
I
right?
would say, yeah, yeah. I don't have a blueprint. A lot of us don't. And so I'm testing throughout the
Yeah.
year. I'm trying, I'm testing. And I think a lot of women are in that place in a lot of different arenas. Not necessarily doesn't have to be entrepreneurial, but we're out here. We are testing. Maybe we're in roles in companies where we took a chance. Maybe we were a little bit underqualified, or maybe we were in a position where we tried something brand new this year that we hadn't done before.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are in at the end of the year, and we can look back and say, yeah, we can check that box.
Yeah.
And I just want us to spend more time in that,
Right. Yeah.
I just
I
want us
agree.
to live there, because that feeling of power can transfer to other areas, like the area of making money and producing wealth.
And it
So
doesn't necessarily, mean that you have to slay your goal every single year. I mean, even if you fall short, I think we still can learn a lot from that. I
absolutely.
mean, we're still better off than what we were going into it. And I think we beat ourselves up too much that we didn't make that target.
Yeah, I had lunch with a colleague, a female colleague. Oh gosh, this was like over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. And I'm just acting on some of the conversation that we had in that luncheon. She created a success journal. And I'm going to do this for the new
Okay.
year. She created as a matter of fact, I'm renaming it to Victory Journal.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to create a victory journal. And when I have small wins, I mean, they could be as small as that man just cut me off in my car and I'm not going to speed up and ride his bumper. That's a win. I'm going to do that for
I
myself.
hear you. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think we need to do a better job of that. So I'm going to create that victory
I love it.
journal, and I'm going to ask you on a regular basis, Miss Gail,
Oh, okay.
what kind of wins or victories you
Okay.
would add from time to
Accepted
time.
challenge. But
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes, yes.
there's a
Good.
lot of things that I need to do, especially when it comes to driving, that I can have a lot of victories. So I look forward to that challenge.
Yes,
And
good,
yeah,
good. So I'm gonna make that a
okay,
normal part of our conversation. So
cool. I love
this
it.
has been an amazing conversation,
Yeah,
Gail. I'm so proud of us.
I know we can check off something that we said we were going to do. We do it. Well, I'm sure each one will get better and better. But as you know, I was read something. I don't know if it was on a Facebook scroll or something. It was like, just, you know what? The first one's always the hardest, and you're going to make mistakes, but just do it. Just jump in, cut your teeth, and have fun with it. And so hopefully, we were able to accomplish that and be a little entertaining, a little educational, a little inspirational throughout the way, and just know that I think the best is yet to come, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. So, no last words. Any advice as we go into the holidays?
Oh my goodness. Just,
Financial advisor?
just don't go crazy. I know it's so hard, but when it comes to your finances, it's like, in January, people soon forget a lot of the stuff that they get, but yet your bank account doesn't. So, I mean, just, you can still be generous, but it doesn't always have to be with money, right?
It's
Be
true.
generous with your time, with, making a phone call, just, being a friend to someone. I think that's what, especially if kids, they remember that more than they remember the toys and the socks and all that kind of stuff that they get. I think a lot of us are hearing this are coming from this side of abundance. I think we have more than what so many people don't. And so I think just being thankful and appreciating what we have, but just being a friend to someone and giving time back. So I guess that's my advice. What about you?
Advice for the holidays. My advice is going to center around self and boundaries.
Mm,
I am in a phase of my life where I've done the things. And so I care about taking care of my needs and saying no
Yeah.
to holiday parties that you don't necessarily want to partake in because you want to stay home, light a candle,
Yes.
pour a glass of wine, listen to some music,
That's
or
awesome.
get on the phone with your girlfriend,
Mhm.
or watch the movie, or take yourself to dinner.
Fun.
So
Yes.
that's my
That's
advice.
great.
My advice is take care of you, please. Life is easy.
Yes. Yeah. We make it hard
Right.
though.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this has been amazing, Gail. Where can people connect with you and find you on the internet?
Yes. So they can learn more about fiat in general at WM.com. It kind of gives a little bit of background of what we're all about, but they can also go to my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Gail Ross Financial.
Woohoo!
Yeah. What about you?
And I am at DereseRenee.com. So,
Easy. Easy. We like that.
DARICERENE.com. That's me. And you can find all of the things that I like to get involved in. And I hope that we connect. So one of the vision that I have for the podcast is that we truly build community. We've already started here in the city of Indianapolis, but we want to expand that. Live events are in our future, tours are in our future, and bringing you experts. So speaking of which, I have a list of a couple of the topics that
Great.
we're going to cover. I want to make sure
Yeah.
that I hit those at a high level. So this is a result of Gail and I brainstorming. So some of the things we're going to cover over the season is how to make work for you in building wealth. So this is for all of our W-2 sisters out there. We're also going to cover how to set it and forget it, passive management versus active management in different wealth tools and wealth vehicles. We're going to get Gail to dish on client stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Can't wait for that one. We're going to have a topic over how to think about retirement when it's so far away. And we're going to share books, podcasts, and other resources along the way. So listen in. We've got a lot of great things in store for you, and we want to hear from you. So reach out to us online. You can find us, connect with us, and let us know what you want to hear from
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it when people say, hey, and that was some of the things that came out of the workshop. I mean, a lot of those topics that we had really was some feedback. So we love feedback. So let us know what is on your mind, and we'll talk about it.
Yes. So this has been amazing. I thank you for being here, Gail.
Thank you, Therese, for hosting, and we look forward to the next episode of Build Wealth Your Way.
Absolutely. Take care,
everyone.
Gail. Bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Build Wealth Your Way podcast. We hope you're feeling inspired and empowered to take action on your financial journey. Remember, when women control wealth, the world changes for the better. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Visit our website to stay connected for updates and more ways to accelerate your wealth building efforts. This is Therese Renee signing off. Stay fearless, stay fabulous, and keep building wealth your way. Build Wealth Your Way is provided for informational and educational purposes only. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional financial advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified professional with any questions you may have regarding your financial situation. The information and opinions expressed in this podcast are based on the host's experiences and research. They do not constitute financial investment, tax, or legal advice. The host and guests may have positions in the financial products or securities mentioned, which can change at times. Always conduct your own due diligence before making any financial decisions. No content in this podcast should be considered as a recommendation to buy or sell any particular investment, product, or service. Any investment decisions you make should be based on your own individual circumstances, your risk tolerance, and financial objectives.